What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, the co-host of the Emerald Echo podcast, here with a look at three different 12-inch figures of Green Lantern Hal Jordan. Here we have the Batman Unlimited Green Lantern, the Justice League True Moves Green Lantern, and the Justice League Action Green Lantern. If this is your first time viewing my content, usually what I do in my review videos is to take a figure that is mint in package and look at the package details before I unbox the figure. However, in this case, I have owned all three of these figures for years and I no longer have the packaging. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the individual details now. Here is the Batman Unlimited 12-inch Hal Jordan figure. This is what the figure looked like mint in package. This figure features some wonderful texturing, but it also has some articulation issues as well as some sculpting issues. Here is the 12-inch Hal Jordan figure from the Justice League Action cartoon. There wasn't an abundance of collectibles put out for this series, and I believe that Green Lantern was one of the most difficult figures to find in this scale. There actually is another version that features a metallic green, but this is the version that I found in the wild, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. Here's a look at the 12-inch Justice League True Moves Hal Jordan. And I searched for this figure for weeks, and I finally found this one, and this is the only one that I ever saw, so of course I snagged it right away. Let's take a look at the boots of the figures, and I think that the Batman Unlimited one has the clear edge. Not only is there lots of intricate sculpting, but these actually look like boots. You can see the top edges of the boots. Whereas the other two figures, it's just the lower legs are green, including the knee hinges. Now, there is good musculature here on the True Moves one. I like the wrinkles that have been sculpted at the ankles. But you can see the green hinges there. And the same can be said for the Justice League Action Hal. The legs on this figure aren't without their merits. There is some decent sculpting when it comes to the musculature. It is a sturdy figure. Overall, it's not bad. It's accurate to the TV series. And I really like the appearance of this translucent plastic. Let's take a look at the rest of the lower body. And I believe that the True Moves Hal has the most realistic proportions. You can see there's some definition in the hamstrings. These look less cartoonish than the Batman Unlimited or the Justice League action figures. These two have produced the quadriceps muscles well, but they're just not as realistic as the True Moves figure. You can see that they're much more cartoonish in their proportions. Now, the Batman Unlimited figure does have some really nice texturing on the black sections of the costume, but there's also a major trade-off that I'm going to talk about here, and you've probably already guessed if you're looking closely at the figure. Let's take a look at lower body articulation, and since the True Moves figure advertises its articulation, you would expect that it would be an improvement on some past efforts, and that is the case. As you can see, you can get Hal into a deep kicking pose. You can get him to step back a little, but I wouldn't force it too much because it feels like the plastic is under stress. The Justice League Action Hal has very similar articulation. You can get him to bend at the knee very well. You can get the hip flexor to move outward. You can get him into a full split, which means a deep side kicking pose. Although this figure can't step back at all, so the True Moves definitely has the advantage there. And both of these figures have the advantage on the Batman Unlimited figure since this figure does not have knee joints. He does have good articulation here in the hips, but I don't understand why this figure wasn't given simple hinges for the knees. Let's take a look at the torsos now. And the Batman Unlimited Hal is much more angular in its definition. You can see that in the way the abdominals have been sculpted, as well as the lats and the lower lumbar. There are lots of sharp sculpted lines here. And this is the smallest torso of the three figures. The True Moves figure has the most realistic body mold. There's good definition in the abdominals. The pectorals and the ribs have been sculpted well. As I turn this figure around, you can see the sculpting here to represent the latissimus dorsi and the lower lumbar. I also really like how vibrant this green is. Here's a closer look at the Justice League Action Hal. He's got some decent sculpting on the abdominals and the pectorals, but not everyone likes the fact that they can see through the figure. Collectors are divided on that from what I've seen. So this is another area where I think the True Moves figure has the advantage over the other two. Here's a close-up of the chest symbols, and I really can't give one symbol the edge over the others. It really comes down to your particular taste. For instance, I'm not as big a fan of the Justice League Action Hal's symbol, but it is accurate to the show. Now, I don't like it because it has no trim on the edges, but that's the way it looks on the show, so that's the way it should have been rendered. And you can see the differences in the symbols between the True Moves and the Batman Unlimited Hal Jordan. And just like we've seen various artists draw the Green Lantern symbol differently, I think both of these are acceptable. However, on all three figures, I wish the symbol had been sculpted. Let's have a look at the arms now, and none of these figures have actual sculpted gloves. It's just the lower portion of the arm is white plastic. You can see the white hinge joint at the elbows. The True Moves Hal has the best sculpting in the biceps and the triceps, but the Justice League Action Hal has the best sculpting in the forearms. In the articulation department, all three of these figures have wrist rotation. The angles to which the elbows bend are somewhat limited, although all three figures have elbows that pivot from side to side, as you can see here. All three of these have considerable movement in the shoulder joints for figures at this price point. You can get all three of these figures to raise their arms out to the side this much. Both collectors and children who get these figures as toys should be happy with the amount of articulation that they have in the shoulders. And yes, all three of these figures do have 360 degrees of shoulder rotation. And if you're wondering if you can get the arms to move out and back into the big power pose, you can certainly do that. Here's a close-up of the rings, and the Justice League Action and the Batman Unlimited figures only have green dots painted on, and to be brutally honest, neither one of these look good. The True Moves figure has a raised sculpted ring, and the paint applications have been executed well. So yet again, this figure has an advantage over the other two. Here's a close-up of all three head sculpts, and I think that the Batman Unlimited figure has the best looking mask. The mask on the True Moves figure is a little small, although it does have the best sculpting of the head overall. The Justice League Action Hal is the most cartoonish, and his features are the least defined. And I think you can see, of the three, the Batman Unlimited Hal has a mask that fits his face the best. Here are the three figures in profile, and the True Moves figure has the most realistic looking hair, although in the case of the Batman Unlimited figure, the hair reminds me a little of the way Gil Kane used to draw Hal Jordan's hair, so that's certainly a positive. In all three cases, the figures have heads that move side to side easily. The True moves Hal Jordan can look down just a little, but in terms of articulation, that is pretty much it. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Emerald Echo podcast, where we cover all of the adventures of your favorite ring slingers. And I'll be back to the internet with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.